Underway in Game 4 of the 21s series between Australia and New Zealand. Australia in the enviable position of holding a 2-1 lead in the series, and they're well up on for and against. So not much to lose for the Aussies here, but it's Wapiti, Danica Wapiti, making a fine start for New Zealand. Annie, she's a player to watch and enjoy, isn't she?
Well, she's been in fine form across the series, even in the last match, and we thought she perhaps was a little slow in shooting. She managed to push the stats out to 82% by the end of that game, so definitely a target player for New Zealand.
Altschwager, who didn't play in Game 3 or in 2, did she?
No, she started the series in combination with Christy Doyle, and she put up 15 from 21 in that match at 71%, but didn't take the court in the last 2 matches, so she'll be looking forward to this one. And I think you're right, Steve, as we just take a look at the umpires for this match, Prue Plummer and Stacey Campton. I think this match is more about pride for New Zealand than it is about Australia pushing anything home, because, as you pointed out, New Zealand won the first one, but only by 4, and since then the margins have been quite considerable for Australia, 25 and 10.
Sinanil, successful. Had a good Game 3. Let's have a look at how they line up for this final game in the series. So it's Altschwager and Neal up front for Australia. The midcourt, Melissa Tump, Natalie von Berto, Monia Gerard. Demelza Fellows and Kelly McKenzie providing a lot of height for Australia in defence, and Norma Plummer is the coach. And for New Zealand, this way, Danica Wapiti, Jodie Tahuna, goal shooter, goal attack. Nicolette Rapati, Angelina Yates is the captain, Rachel Rasmussen at wing defence, Alison Toy and Jolene Henry, and Te Aroha Keenan is their coach. And yes, Nicolette Rapati is a relation of the famous rugby league Rapati boys. See how she goes here, but it's Tahuna looking to find Wapiti. And Tahuna, who shot 74% in Game 3.
Couple of changes to the New Zealand line. They've been persisting with a fairly regular starting lineup, but Jenna Swan has been a fixture at wing attack, and she's been replaced by Rapiti for this one. The other absentee is Tara Pate, who has been at wing defence, so a couple of changes on the wings.
New Zealand possession, but they trail early. 2.5 gone. 4-2 is the early margin for the Aussies, as Wapiti is found with a good ball. She left herself plenty of room to retreat to before the baseline, and there's Te Aroha Keenan. Quietly spoken, well-respected coach, Annie.
Yes, a gorgeous woman, and controls the New Zealand lineup beautifully. Very calm on the sideline. As you say, well-respected both as a former player and a coach. Australia fired along the baseline. Quick hands between Neal and Altschwager. Norma Plummer there, just as respected in Australia. Former Australian centre wing defence.
Oh, that asked too much even of the tall Danica Wapiti. So McKenzie gets us going again. Fellows back to McKenzie. Nice movement off the ball from Gerard, just sucking players away. Oh, that had to be just right. But she just stepped into the circle, did Natalie von Berto.
Well, that was close to trademark New Zealand defence. Henry coming out on that long lead for the intercept. She just missed it, but that's what we love to see in New Zealand play, and it would be a pleasure to see a little more of it, albeit Australia too putting in a good performance.
Yates back to Rasmussen, on through Rapati, and Tahuna has it. Tough shot. Fellows, contact in the end.
No, it was from
outside
Gerard.
the circle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fellows actually was putting on great pressure from the front of the shot. Tahuna tried to draw attention to the fact that she thought it was too close. As she did that, she stepped back, and Gerard had a little bit of a go from behind, but she was contacted.
And, well, a soft couple of turnovers there.
You see there the good stretch from Fellows. Tahuna checks the ground to check the distance. As she goes back, Gerard reaches and is offside in the process, but I think actually went for contact on the ball in the first place.
Gerard.
Beautiful
Tump
ball
to
there.
Altschwager. Tump the wing attack without name on the back of the top. And Altschwager early, 4 from 4. Neal. The Tump straight to Altschwager. Works a quick 1-2, but is felled by Jolene Henry. And Prue Plummer, as we pointed out before, no relation to Coach Norma. Umpire sets it for Australia, and 6-3.
Altuaga on 5 straight, looks very comfortable at the back of the Australian lineup at shooter. She started in the first match at goal attack with Doyle behind her as goal shooter. Never really got into the game to her full potential, but she looks pretty comfortable tonight.
Rapati looking to find Tahuna. Contact against Demelza Fellows. Tahuna the shot. Out to Rapati. Wasn't expecting to have to refeed the circle, but was quickly onto it. And unlike her start in game 3, where I think Wapiti hit her first 6 or 7 straight. 6, thanks Todd. She's not quite on the money today, 2 from 4.
No, she's dropping them short. There's good pressure, though, over the ball from Kelly McKenzie, who's got a wonderful reach between her and Fellows. There's a lot of tall timber in the circle, and the reach over the shot is quite phenomenal.
Neil.
And by comparison, you can see the New Zealanders giving away precious centimetres at the other end of the court.
8-3 the lead, but the attempts are only 8-7. The Aussies haven't missed.
And they'll be getting their water at the quarter break, won't they? It's wonderful when you think of the number of players Norma Plummer has been able to use across this series. While she's carrying 12 in each state for each leg, that 12 hasn't been fixed. There's been core members, but then other members picked up state to state. So we're seeing a wealth of Australian talent. Christy Doyle there on camera, Australian captain.
Gee, there was some lightning fast work around the circle by the Aussies after they missed the first attempt. And they've scored the last 5. Kept in well by Tahuna for Wapiti to finally stop the Aussie run. 3 from 6. No wonder she doesn't look too happy. Fellows spots an unmarked Altuaga. She just quietly put the hand in the air. I'm here.
And she applauds the vision of Demelza Fellows. And don't those goal defenders love to open the arm just inside the mid-third and wind it up and put it to the post?
Goal defence to goal shooter. That's the shortcut, isn't it?
It's Karen Smith of old, that pass.
New Zealand with it. Tahuna. 10-4, a worrying start for them. The Aussies getting 10 goals before halfway through the first quarter. Good return.
The Australians are very composed and very steady, and by contrast, New Zealand are quite lacklustre. There doesn't seem to be any intensity in their match. Oh,
Altuaga somehow kept that in. Not a second time, though. Tremendously athletic for such a tall player. Let's admire this again.
Altuaga, you see, backpedaling, tries to keep the line over the shot. I don't know if she did keep it in. There's Musson on camera, who's done some work in the circle for New Zealand, but towards the end of the series, more at wing defence.
Well, that was Alison Toy having a crack outside the circle and just opened it up easily for the Australian goalers. Altuaga on 6 from 7. Sinner Neal hasn't missed any of her 7 attempts.
Too much on it then from Von Bert. I was just thinking the New Zealand defence not quite as committed as Australia. The last move from Toy, where she went for the ball, the ability to recover and close the space on the second phase, just non-existent.
Inside the last 5 minutes, first quarter, a dominant one from the Aussies. A touch there from Gerard. She's quick, got elevation, anticipation. Do you think, there's a word about Gerard, anyway, looking at her height, whether she suits the wing defence position better than goal defence, which we see her play more of in the National League?
I think she's such a versatile player. She's a horses for courses gal. On the right goal attack, like a Sherelle McMahon, we've seen her do that. Really entertain McMahon for the entire game. Match the speed, match the jump. So she's a perfect goal defence in that position. Given the height that New Zealand boast in the circle, I think her move to wing defence was just what the doctor ordered, because she really has put some pressure on the feed, and that's what you want to slow down against New Zealand.
Alison Toy apologising for that late arrival. The turnover at the other end was for a short pass. The Aussies swatch here. Toy a little bit clumsy. And Sinner Neal propelled out of court. Toy apologised. Altuaga. 7 from 8, and still Sinner Neal hasn't missed. And I think, judging by the body language, that Altuaga and Neal are having a pretty fine old time out there.
Yeah, the Australians look absolutely comfortable on court, don't they?
I'll be quite surprised to be leading by the margin they are. Just looking back to game 3, it was only 14-12 at quarter time. That was with Neil and Doyle in the goal shooting duties. Sinner Neil playing goal shooter in the third game. Wapiti to take the shot.
6 from 9 for Wapiti at 67%. Tahuna takes the shot with fellows out of play. It rings out. Wapiti and Mackenzie involved in the rebounding contest, but Mackenzie not the room to go through to contest the ball.
Good attempt from Wapiti, and 16 attempts for both sides, but 15-9 Australia. And Yates finds Danica Wapiti, who finds the net. When she's on,
she's like a tap, turned on or turned off. You know, it's only 5 the difference. In the interest of a contest, you feel like saying to the New Zealand side, it's just 5. Get out there, let's go. Quick ball out of the hands, let's zing it through. And sometimes you watch them and think there isn't a belief it can happen. They just coast along.
Perhaps it's up to the New Zealand manager to decide whether she is that tap. It's Jude Fawcett. Yeah, I had to work hard for that. Sinner Neil.
The first quarter.
Good drive from Neil and feeding on to Altschwager.
With a speed just leaving New Zealand for dead. Fast hands and fast feet.
Taoroha Keenan on the left and Jude Fawcett, the manager, on the right. Victim of my latest poor pun. Sorry, Jude.
I'll be head down writing a note to us as you speak.
Yep. Memo. You're brilliant.
Great accuracy from Sinner Neil. She continues 10 straight. And Australia just 2 more attempts at goal than New Zealand. The accuracy leaving New Zealand's game for the time being, but we know they have ample skills and it can be resurrected in a moment.
Now Tahuna had to work it hard around the circle. Wapiti doing well to out-jump Mackenzie.
Wapiti just holding her rebounding position a little longer than Mackenzie and being able to hold the space for herself.
Tum around the corner to Altschwager. Neil escaping the attention of Toy. And Sinner Neil with a perfect quarter. 11 from 11. New Zealand centre pass might be the last one of the quarter. Oh, Gerard, well done. Ooh, but Gerard's given it away in turn to Jolene Henry. Wasn't expecting that one, but gleefully took it. Rasmussen sideways to Toy. They're running out of seconds here to score the last goal of the quarter. And the timekeeper will be up now, and has got to catch up to Stacey Campton. And if the Aussies can slow them down.
Inside the circle on my whistle.
And the last attempt also looked good, doesn't count though from 8 goals. Australia's lead after 15 minutes of play. And can they keep it going? Tump looking for Altschwager and immediately had to set out after her own pass because Altschwager had misread it. And note that Jenna Swan has joined the game, replacing Nicolette Rapati at wing attack.
And Swan immediately injecting a new lease of life into the forward line. There's more speed, more intensity, and Taoroha Keenan already applauding the start from New Zealand.
Got a chance to get the first 2 of the quarter. Swan into Wapiti, and she's feeling confident. Just lets them go when the hand is hot. And Rasmussen dropping back to goal defence for New Zealand, and Stephanie Bond joining the game at wing defence. So they now look this way. Rasmussen back to goal defence and Stephanie Bond on at wing defence, and Jenna Swan replacing Nicolette Rapati at wing attack.
It's the first time that we've seen a Bond in the series. Most of the workload has revolved around Rasmussen, Toy and Henry, with Pate playing at wing defence on occasion. Swan, though, as we mentioned, has been anchoring the wing attack position for most matches.
There's a touch there from Mackenzie, backed up by Gerard. Had the Australians hunting for their first goal of the second quarter. It's been a good start by New Zealand in the second. Altschwager short. Oh, and that's another taste of the floor for Jane Altschwager.
Jane Altschwager goes to the post, rebounds, and gets a bit of attention from Rasmussen, and Altschwager will know tonight that she's played a game.
She's had a couple of players step in and across her. Fellows.
Oh,
well picked
take.
off. Jolene Henry, they just shut down those spaces. They float so well, don't they, Anne?
Well, that's what we alluded to in the first quarter, them trying to do it, but the timing not there. Now there's just a new urgency in the camp.
Tump to Neal. Neal who retrieved the situation. Altschwager, great leap from her and a good goal. But it's a 3-2 start to the second for New Zealand. Come out firing after making a couple of changes. Tahuna.
Contact call goes against... Oh, sorry, goal attack. It's Sinner Neal. I thought it had gone against Tahuna closer to the circle.
Gerard, too quick. Forces another turnover. Tump to Neal. Picked off again. And it's Henry again.
Well, someone's told her to keep her eyes up and to back herself, get out on the ball, because she started this second quarter as a new woman.
Well, PT contact against Kelly McKenzie.
It's just stalled the last couple of times in the New Zealand forward line. Unlike their senior counterparts, they're not as prepared to work the ball around the outside until the shooter's open. It's just a little ground bound.
Ground bound. There you go. Okay. Like that one.
I brought that one with me tonight. It's another new one
You've
for
been
you.
working on that one? Humberto, Neal, Altschwager. Oh, how was that?
Absolutely threaded. Was always set up for the play, and New Zealand allowed it. Now, I want to remind you, this is slow-mo. Altschwager sets it up, threads it.
Well, there were two hands stretched out for that ball, but it beat them both. But not Sinner Neal, who anticipated it so well, driving to the post. Gerard feels the floor. Wapiti, the net. And she's lifted to 13 from 17. And 76%, but Tahuna has barely been in the game in terms of productivity.
Yeah, that's a costly statistic for New Zealand, that they've had only one less attempted goal than Australia, yet trail by 8.
Gives Demelza Fellows some credit there. She's playing on Tahuna.
And by contrast, the Australian statistics, 86% and 100%. Well, they can be bettered, but not by much.
Tahuna this time. McKenzie finding herself marking, and that's a better shot. 24 to 16. And it was 8 at quarter time. The lead back to 8 for Australia.
Well, both shooters retreating from the ball, but smart work. Seeing that was happening, Altschwager set up the screen for Neal to protect her so the ball could go over.
They improvised it. Oh, and the contact goes against Stephanie Bond. Big time. Humberto, Altschwager.
Just trying to check out the options for New Zealand, because Tahuna has played most of their matches at goal attack. I think the only other to get a look in has been Nicolette Rapati, who started the game at wing attack. She may be one they may choose to move into goal attack.
It'll be a tribute to Fellows if Tearoha Keenan is forced to make that change. Demelza Fellows with Adelaide Thunderbirds in the National League these days, although originally from Queensland.
And this is the first time we've seen her run at goal defence in this series. She's been anchored at keeper previously, doing a fine job. On that note, Steve, Norma Plummer did want to pay some accolades to her squad, because at the end of this series, 7 of her players will no longer be eligible to remain in the 21 and under squad. So sadly, Christy Doyle, Monia Gerard, Jane Altschwager, Demelza Fellows, Jackie Roberts, Laura Bonberto and Michelle Gillette will leave the ranks after some fine work. And Doyle, Gerard, Altschwager, Fellows, Roberts, all members of the World Youth Cup side that was successful in Australia's 2000 campaign.
Sinner Neal, 16 from 18. Altschwager, 18 of 23. 13 the lead. McKenzie. Well, if there's a player having an average game out there for Australia, I haven't seen her.
No,
pass,
they really should be applauded in how they're able to string it together. And I guess they're not really sacked, are they? They've just become available for the open team.
Sorry, wing defence. Contact, wing defence. Sorry.
Oh, it's a little bit of a misunderstanding there. Did you track the calls there from Stacey Campton? Was it a reversal or just a misunderstanding?
I couldn't hear the call, but it looks very much like it was just a misunderstanding that she was clarifying.
Altschwager.
Good reach from Henry, who gave away precious centimetres, but timed the jump nicely.
Altschwager's percentage just dropped to 75. Missed a few in the latter stages of this second quarter. Wapiti.
And Steve, whilst the pattern in the first quarter was that Australia didn't enjoy more dominance with possession, they just enjoyed more accuracy, it's now become the pattern that they are having more opportunities in goal than New Zealand, as well as superior accuracy.
A couple of quick ones for New Zealand, and they've taken some out of the lead. Oh, Von Berto, they've just got a little sloppy. The Aussies in the last couple of minutes. Tump. And New Zealand possession. Tump surprised to find that was the decision. Oh, nice swing of the ball from Jenna Swan. Come unstuck though. Half a minute to go in the second. Australia well positioned to go on with it here. Neil finds Altschwager, who anchors that left foot, and that's good goal. 36-23. One stage they looked like they might be doubling New Zealand's score in the second quarter, but a mini comeback from the Kiwis, and Mackenzie in a bit of trouble.
On the whistle.
Jody Tahuna take the shot. Timekeepers out of the chair. We won't have much more action in this second quarter. And be doing well to get it to the goal shooter Altschwager. They can't, but it is a handy 12-goal lead to Australia at half. Australia looking to wrap up this 21 and under series. They played particularly well. Games 2, 3 and so far in game 4, but it's Wapiti with the first possession and the first goal. What a sweet shot she has.
It was a beautiful shot, particularly given that Mackenzie was pretty short on her. Would have been blown for obstruction.
Brunch on Natalie Von Berto. Some changes for New Zealand as Tarapate comes on at wing defence, and Stephanie Bond moves from wing defence to goalkeeper. Not your average change. I guess it's been done before, but Pate is the third wing defence in as many quarters that New Zealand have tried.
Aotearoa Keenan really looking for some special formula here as Australia continues to make her backline look a little lacklustre. We've seen glimpses of what they can achieve. Henry started the second quarter with 2 beautiful intercepts out towards the transverse line. You know it's in there. They're just a little on the back foot against a very fast, slick Australian lineup.
Von Berto to Neil.
Contact outside the circle.
And Altschwager. Aotearoa Keenan. And she get them going forward. It's 2 good wins in the first 2 quarters for Australia. 19-11 and then 17-13. Aussies took a little while to get going in the second quarter and absolutely dominated the middle stages of it, and then took their foot off the gas possibly in the last 3 minutes.
But you know, 11 goals at half-time or halfway through is absolutely gettable. Australia chased New Zealand in match number 1 from 10 down and got to 4. I think they got to within 2 before it slid to 4 again. So it can be done.
Yates, the skipper, with the centre pass. It's quickly onto Wapiti.
Swan has beautiful hands and such quick disposal, but sometimes I feel like she's one off. She's one out there. There's not the connection with the others trying to put the same speed on the ball.
Swan on to Tahuna. Wapiti back to Swan. Yeah, it's a congested top of the circle. Oh, nearly got it, and they will get the rebound. Tahuna. It's things starting to go New Zealand's way.
Always going to happen. Let's take a look. It's congested. That she tries to pick up Tahuna on the baseline. Wapiti runs to the rescue, keeps it alive. It's off the post. And Tahuna, as easy as you please, I'll have that. Thank you very much.
Gerard grabs the loose ball. Mackenzie and picked off.
Rasmussen hunting deep down in the midcourt, right on the transverse line.
It's one aspect of the game that Norma Plummer may not be pleased with, is the amount of ball that New Zealand have been able to take from the Australians with this floating zone defence.
Yeah, it's just not consistent enough from New Zealand to really spoil Australia's pattern of play. It thwarts it on occasion, but then Australia able to build again.
And Sid O'Neill, 18 from 20.
I do take your point, though, because when you look at the stat sheet, the turnover rate is fairly even between the two teams. Australia has spoiled 17 opportunities when they've been in possession, New Zealand 19, so both. And I guess it's testimony to their age. They're 21 and under, so it's not all, the game's not all there yet. Not able to string it together with as much consistency as you'd like.
Step forward, please.
Umberto's pass to Altschwager, interrupted by Bond. Altschwager, 22 from 29. 76%, and Sid O'Neill still on 90. Tump.
Obstruction centre.
It's a strange looking setup with the two defenders in front of the two goalers and a tea towel over the four of them. Wapiti.
Rasmussen working down on the transverse line to assist in generating something in attack for New Zealand. It does give them another pivot, another point of a triangle to open the play and swing the angles.
11 the lead. Reminding it was 12 at half-time, and we're 4.5 into the third quarter. Neil Altschwager just had the foot over the line there. Could not get the shot away quickly enough. Not that it was an accurate one.
I think she's been spectacular enough already in this game, don't you? That would have just brought the house down.
Throw in Australia. Mackenzie to take it. Fellows. Umberto. There are the attempts. Australia with just 5 more, but the goal shooting percentage, quite a story there. 15% better, Australia. Penalties, not much in it. Same with rebounds. Turnovers, just the one difference. 3 more intercepts, the Aussies. Another goal to Danica Wapiti.
Sweet play then from New Zealand. Swan again integral in the down court play. Took a wonderful take on the ball and just so quick to release it.
Vantage breaking wing. Contact inside.
Contact against Mackenzie.
I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. I only saw the end of it, and elbows must have gone first because I thought there was a push off from Danica Wapiti, but it really depends on whether you've seen the initial move or the subsequent move.
There's a handling error by Tahuna, and it's got Australia struggling on this occasion to get forward. Now into the goal third, and there's Neil waiting unattended. She loses her player well. Altschwager.
Beautiful shot, Jane Altschwager. Her 24th of the match, 24 from 31.
Umberto. Tump. Altschwager. Oh. I don't know if they had that one worked out or not. It was a blind pass from Altschwager. Sid O'Neill rejoins the play smiling.
Nice one-handed take from Tara Putty. Oh, sweeter work from New Zealand. Bit more zing in the game.
It's picked up by Von Berto.
Good work from Von Berto as New Zealand really cranked it up in that play.
They left themselves short of numbers at the back, though, and this ought to be another goal for Altschwager. 25 from 32.
You're not supposed to smile when you're playing New Zealand in international netball. How can they be happy out there? Must be the scoreline.
By 12, they've restored the lead they had at half-time, but it might be back to 11 again. It is. Natalie Von Berto set a pass for Australia, and Tump quick enough to find some space. Altschwager offers, edge of the circle. And Berto dribbles it in almost for Sid O'Neill. Oh, I was wondering how that could possibly pop out, but nearly did. Halfway through the third. Tahuna. Oh, Gerard, that elevation that we've so admired comes in handy again. And Pate nearly did a great job to keep that in.
Well, she did well because New Zealand, not having the numbers, were in chase position all the way down the court from Gerard's turnover.
Yes. Stand beside her, goal defence.
Sinanil. Steady hand. 20th goal for her, and Altschwager has 25.
Very impressive from Sinanil, playing at goal attack. The workload, of course, there as a forward player down court, put up 20 goals. So she's taking her weight of goals, 21 now at 91%. So that's a brilliant stat.
Nice to catch that head-on angle sometimes, isn't it, to see the movement sideways down the court of the players.
One of my faves. And a lot of coaches prefer to sit end-on to watch the spatial use of the ball down the court. You see all the preliminary moves, somebody coming off the ball, not to receive it, but to give room for someone else to take it.
Gerard receives from von Berta, gives it back. Needs an offer, and finds Tump, who finds Altschwager. Gee, that height is well used, and the feed is good.
Yeah, the height really shone then, because she actually went a little early on the jump, but the height kept her up there and hanging.
Well, PT can't stop
Taps
that kind
on.
of shot.
Taps back on again.
Well, PT 26 from 35. Neil. Tump looking for Altschwager, and contact against Stephanie Bond.
Should point out, Steve, we were congratulating and farewelling members of this Australian 21 and under side, and we mentioned Laura von Berta would, after the series, be too old. Of course, it's Natalie that's playing in this match. Just wanted to make that clear. Natalie played at wing attack in a previous match, but in this one running at centre.
Swan is get some help from Rasmussen. Yates onto a PT, 2 on her, can't stop the shot. She's great to watch. It reminds just a little the way she's so relaxed and happy to go early of Catherine Cox.
Yeah, I think there's a touch of Van Dijk in her as well, just in her disposition.
It's pretty unflappable. Well, PT it is.
Just
Swan,
bounces
gee, it was
says,
nearly a short pass, except it went to the floor first.
I'm going to put it here. You come and get it. House building here at the State Sports Centre in Sydney. Big crowd.
This session sold out, of course, for the much anticipated Australia-New Zealand final match of the Tri-Series.
Oh, again, great pressure from Gerard over the penalty, held the ball up, forces contact from Wapiti, who pushes as she leaves Mackenzie.
4.5 to go in the third, and New Zealand have had a steady quarter here. They've held Australia to 12 as the margin, and that's how it was at the main break. So they've improved a little. Umberto Altschwager just was looking for Neil and finds herself shooting, and shooting well. I don't know that when I've last seen a goal shooter goal attack so much enjoy a match at this top level. They're having a great time out there. Obviously good pals, and they combine well together. Let me down there.
You had to start talking, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Well, that's the job, isn't it? Yates. Tahuna.
Obstruction.
Mackenzie, the obstruction.
Blows air out. I think she was checking that it was the landed foot was the furthest away from the post. So I think she thought she was pretty neat on that foot. Tahuna had stepped the other foot through.
Well, PT, oh, that did everything but go in. Oh!
I love it.
She enjoyed that too. So did the bench, so did the crowd here at the State Sports Centre. That's some talent.
Lovely touch here from Wapiti. Long range. She's under pressure from Mackenzie. Puts it up. Has a little bit of a think about it. Follows it in though. Lovely touch. Up she goes. Almost, you know, you can argue a point then for a replay. Single-handed possession. How do you like that argument?
Oh, that's a bit tough.
No, you could argue possession on the first outstretch off the rebound and then a little push for the shot. That's my case. I'm sticking to it.
I was looking earlier at what she was doing with the pivot foot. The heel was up and the toe was up, and they seemed to relax on that a bit.
I'll concede that it was pretty spectacular and give in, but okay. I think on another slow-mo you'll come around to my way of thinking.
I usually have to. Tahuna. 49-40, and so the Kiwis have got it back to 9. They're winning this quarter, the third. Umberto and Tump.
Definite lift in their performance in this third quarter, to their credit. There's been more intensity in defence, and I think the Swans really is starting to generate something at wing attack for them, as she has in other matches.
I think the Australians too have found it hard to maintain the high level they established in the first quarter. 19-11 at the first break as Fellows bumps into Jodie Tahuna.
Yeah, she was in late. That's her 11th penalty. She is by far the outstanding penalty count for Australia. The nearest her is Neil, ironically, with 5. Australia's total penalty count 33, New Zealand's 37. The Mills attracted a lot of whistles, Steve, in the first match, in excess of 20, I think it was, and then adjusted beautifully for the second, but just starting to attract more in this game.
Well, at times, New Zealand using the post for balance. That's something you're allowed to do in this game. Mackenzie to Bomberto. Fellows available. Good ball to find her. Tahuna, the contact. Tump to Neil. Presenting a pretty big obstacle in defence was Rasmussen there. Set herself tall.
And a lot of movement on the post from the other players bumping it. It was almost like a magical shot, that one, if it was going to go in.
Sinner Neil. Contact against Angelina Yates. Neil the shot now. And what's she up to? 23 from 25. Mama Plummer given a few things to think about in this quarter, which New Zealand continued to win. Trimmed a 12-goal margin to 10. So they're not really threatening to take the match from Australia. Sinner Neil's got a bit of a problem. The match continues, and Sinner Neil will not. She goes to the bench, having only missed 2 attempts in nearly 3 quarters of play. So it's Christy Doyle coming on at goal attack, replacing Neil, who had a fine game, but a bit of a problem with the right hand or shoulder. And she's off. Attempts are even. That's 9 the lead for Australia, and 10 seconds to try and find one more. They need to hurry. I think that message has probably gone out. Doyle puts up her first shot. Can't get it. Strong rebound. Well done, Stephanie Bond, to deny the Aussies, and I feel they're just a chance here. They've kept the lead under double figures. So a good last quarter ahead of us. It's Australia 51, New Zealand 42 in the 21s. Well, crowd has been well entertained by this first 3 quarters of match and the final one in the 21s series between Australia and New Zealand. And the timekeeper right beside Stacey Campton says now is okay. So we're underway. 51-42. And Wapiti, if she can get a couple of early goals, they might just make a run at Australia and make a game of it. Doyle, Lynch, and the front end for Australia is suddenly looking quite different, because Altschwager has also gone to the bench, as has wing attack Melissa Tump. So it's Amy Lynch at wing attack, Amanda Martin at goal shooter, and remember that Christy Doyle only came on in the last 30 seconds of that third quarter. So Altschwager, by the way, retiring on figures of 28 from 35, 80%. Sinner Neil 23 from 25, 92%.
And this, of course, presents a very different formula for Australia. You now don't have the height of Altschwager. You have a more mobile circle with Martin combining with Doyle.
Wapiti has it.
Oh, great start, and that's hurting the promise of things to come from New Zealand with that striking power from Wapiti. And a whole new emphasis on the game now.
They get the first 3, as they might well now with possession here. And Australia will just be shaking a little. Wapiti confidently puts up another shot. 33 from 44. Where did that margin go? It's quickly slipping away for Australia. Lynch. Umberto throws it to no one in particular, and the combination's not there yet.
Now, Lynch assumed, I think, that there was a shooter behind her who'd come out on the lead, but the ball was for Lynch.
And Doyle happy to pick up a loose one from New Zealand. Gerard to Lynch, looking for Martin. Martin drawn away from the post. Bomberto finds Martin now. And they need one, Australia, and get one. That's her first attempt and goal. So Yates to Swan. Tahuna finds Wapiti. Threw it to the correct side for her. Away from the defender.
Well, with this start from New Zealand, I think it's fair to say it's taken them 3 quarters to find what they were looking for. We've now got a game in our hands, and if Wapiti can manage to keep herself on track in goals, it's danger signs for Australia. Great composure called on them, particularly through their skipper, Christy Doyle, but she can answer.
It's Rasmussen that was out of play. Doyle, a successful shot, and she's 1 from 2.
Tahuna, the New Zealand goal attacker, sat herself right back in the circle, so they're playing more a closed circle, allowing their feeders to drive the ball down to them, and it's leaving Wapiti on strike.
And she can retake this one, Wapiti, to move New Zealand to 47. Perhaps a rebound will do it, yes.
You know, you comment about Catherine Cox earlier. I just saw the similarity then when she wants to take that quick release on the shot. It's taken me a while to come around to your way of thinking, but when she does let it fire straight away, that's perhaps one of the characteristics that we know so well of Catherine.
Martin. A red letter day. Rebellion and Sargent agree on something.
Put it in your books. Not true.
Well-placed ball from Swan. Picks up Wapiti. It's easy for her, and 6 the margin. Plenty of time. 11.5 minutes. New Zealand to continue to make a run at the Australians.
Oh, Rasmussen. It was set up for her. She read it well. She'd sagged off the body, put straight across the court parallel. That is a gimme to a New Zealand defence line.
And Swan with that easy feed into Wapiti. Just got a soft touch with the strength and length of pass, Jenna Swan.
Just excuse me while I go over and shake Tairoa, the coach for New Zealand. She's still composed, and it's driving me crazy.
Oh, great take, Wapiti.
Let's see if we get a reaction this time. Oh, the rebound follows the shot. It's awarded to New Zealand.
Oh, Fellows was right there, but it goes to Wapiti, who takes another rebound.
And it's shooting practice for New Zealand. Now it goes against her. Well, Wapiti had a chance as that's out of court with a throw-in to be taken.
She just missed it once too often. It'll come back to the Australian defensive goal third, where out of play is Jenna Swan. Mackenzie to Fellows. Gee, the Australians need a settler here. They've only scored 3 to New Zealand's 7 in this quarter.
A good following of the ball by Doyle. It was well read by Putty, but Doyle, quite relentless, is trying to orchestrate something for Australia, playing a good captain's role.
Crowd being drawn into the game now. They sense it's all on. Fellows, Lynch.
Goes against Bond. I've been watching that. She's a little quick to get the arms up to contest the ball even before the ball's released. So I think she's flirting with an obstruction or contact call.
Contact goal defense.
Wapiti. When you see them go through so easily, you wonder how she ever misses. Fellows.
That's true, but, you know, we watch their stats build slowly across this game. She's now up to 72%. She sits normally in the first couple of matches, she was around 81, 82.
And Australia back out to 7. They'll be breathing just a little easier, but they cannot relax, not with 9 minutes on the clock. And with Wapiti apparently running into some kind of hot spell. Fellows, Mackenzie, Bomberto. It's a jammed centre third that New Zealand have packed it.
Well, at last we see what they can do defensively. I mean, that's the pattern they play. Now they're putting themselves out there and really congesting the Australian line.
Quite a bit of pressure on Martin and Doyle in this last quarter. They seem to be standing up okay. What's Martin's
4 from 4.
there?
She's very safe, and it's, as you know, so difficult to come into a match for just one quarter, let alone a match where you've seen the balance shift across the game.
Doyle and Martin, understanding is there. She's having a good game. A good quarter is all she's getting. It's hard to force your way into the side past the likes of Sinanil and Altschwager and Doyle. Tahuna. It's 2-1 Rapiti, and they still find her.
Well, you'd have to say New Zealand have let themselves off the hook. They had the chance to run it to within 4. A couple of turnovers there in business, and missed shots and unforced errors have put the pressure back on themselves.
Australia adding a little pressure there with Mackenzie, a loose ball for Fellows, which isn't going to be punished. The Aussies have it. Mackenzie this time a little surer. On through von Berto to Doyle to Gerard. Lynch was available. Doyle the option. Oh, smart ball into Martin.
Beautiful ball from Doyle, and the best thing about it was it worked the angles. It wasn't continuing the play on the run line towards the sideline. Sinanil with ice on her left shoulder.
I think I said the right before, and as soon as I said it, I wasn't sure, but it was the left. Yeah, she's, I'm sure, going to be okay.
Wonderful shooting from Amanda Martin, who had the pressure on her 7 straight in this final quarter.
There's that great feed again from Jenna Swan to Apiti, and they make a good combination. Lead is 10. New Zealand needed to win this match, by the way, by about 31, I think, to draw level on for and against with Australia and to make it 2 wins apiece. Well, Martin exercised the wrong option there. So Australia's going to win this series, having dropped the first match by just 4 goals and putting together a couple of big wins, 75-50, 60-50. And the margin, well, I'd like to call it 6 minutes out. 17 penalties against Demelza Fellows.
You're out of play. In front of the centre.
Apiti, back out to Swan, who...
Contact, goal shooter.
Yeah, contact against Wapiti. Did you see that, Annie?
Looked like a pushing off call from through Plummer.
Goal attack.
Gerard to Lynch. And Doyle.
Again, great deception from Doyle, but von Berto unable to find either shooter.
Swan with Wapiti. You know, Jenna Swan, the way she passes sometimes, we're looking for players who remind us of other players. It's that Shelley O'Donnell kind of shuffle on with the 2 hands.
She certainly has the power style of play and the quick release of Shelley. And in that last passage, when she and Yates opened up and let the ball go, it was beautiful netball. We've just been starved of it for most of the match from New Zealand. Australia's been exhibiting it. New Zealand, I don't think, have been able to put out what they potentially can. We've seen glimpses of it in this closing.
Aussies holding on here, an 8-goal lead, 4:40 to go. It could be that New Zealand win the 3rd and 4th quarter, but still come up empty. It was a dominant first 2 quarters from Australia, set up with a 12-goal lead at half-time. Disjointed, though, is their play at the moment, the Australians. Fellows runs it down. Lynch. Martin and now Doyle. Obstruction against Stephanie Bond. Fellows retreating to the defensive third, applauding the work up court, but she had a big hand in that build-up.
Oh, good work from Mackenzie. Kept the feet moving, had a good eye, good intuition for where the ball would be put.
Jostling there with Wapiti.
That ball almost too fast for Tahuna, out of the hands of Yates and now in Australian hands. Must be an offside call. It's a free pass inside the circle. I think it's an offside. Oh no, it's outside. It's Von.
I think it was might have been a step.
Must be a step. I thought you said inside the circle, but outside was the case.
Umberto, Doyle. 8 the lead, 3 to go. Obstruction comes back giving Amanda Martin the opportunity to score.
Thank goodness, 8 straight. I'm willing her to perfect stats. I don't want us to put the mocker on her.
Bond, 17 penalties.
Which is a high stat given she didn't start the game for New Zealand.
That's in 3 quarters.
Yep.
Started the game at wing well, didn't start the game. Came on in the 2nd quarter at wing defence.
Dangerous challenge from Rasmussen, puts her out of play, but Doyle continues as if it never happened.
Doyle.
Sweet shot. That'll be a lifting shot for Doyle. 5 from 7, 71%.
Kick the lead back out to double figures, Australia.
Better work then from Bond. Actually, the contact goes on Amanda Martin.
Oh,
good comeback. Good challenge. Now she's out again. Well, near redemption. Have to say, she's only been given 15 minutes to prove herself, and she's doing a good job of that. As Fellows gives her another opportunity. Great work, Demelza Fellows. She's had a fine game for Australia.
It wasn't a Kiwi within 3 metres of Demelza Fellows there. It was such a such a missed pass.
She's been really committed in this game, not just to her opponent, but reading the game well. Her support play has been phenomenal.
Doyle, oh, gee, who wants it? Anybody. Swan comes up with it finally. Tahuna, then Fellows again. She's everywhere.
We need a new column on our stat sheet.
Lots of Fellows. Martin. And the last 90 seconds of play now as Australia comfortable with an 11-goal lead. And they're going to win 3 out of the 4 matches played between these two sides. So looks good for the future for Australian netball. There's a few questions being asked at the moment of the senior side. Some of these players will be saying, hey, look at me, Jill McIntosh. I can mix it.
She'll be looking. Beautiful. Beautiful reading by Amy Lynch. She saw the space was behind Martin, encouraged her to take it. It's a feeder's role in this game to create the opportunities for the shooters. Oh, made that sound like slavery, didn't it?
Gerard leaves it for Yates. And now Jodie Tahuna. Great shot. I wonder if it'll be her last. Last 40 seconds of the match. Australia's possession. Lynch runs down an untidy ball. Fellows. She's had a great last quarter when the Aussies were starting to be under a bit of pressure. And Martin.
Oh, brilliant work, Amanda Martin. 11 straight.
Smiles on the Australian bench.
Well, there's some options in this Australian 21 and under squad.
Gerard. And the Aussies, in the end, look like they're winning this last quarter, because the lead is out to 11, and it was only 9 at 3-quarter time. Timekeeper's up. I think the scoring is done for this one. And the ball finishes in the centre of the court, and handshakes all around for the end of a match and the end of a series, which is